It might come off as rude and inconsiderate to say that where someone puts their money is garbage. I know that. But at the Money GPS, you come here to get the hard-hitting facts, not the sugar-coated, shiny objects distracting you from reality. Are you ready for the real deal? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to talk about a difficult subject, but one I'm asked about every single day. The 401k. This is the RRSP in Canada, the supers in Australia and other places. You got to know what's going on with your retirement accounts. So we're going to talk about this today, and I try to make the video as quick as possible. And look, just because you're holding on to a 401k, just because you have a retirement account that's one of these type of investments, all is not lost. Okay, so hang in there. Let's get into it right away. A record number of investors became 401k millionaires this spring. At the end of the second quarter, 168,000 people with 401ks managed by Fidelity had at least $1 million in their accounts. That's so wonderful. Everybody pat them on the back because they're now millionaires. Okay, so let's just ask Fidelity for our money back and then we can use it, right? Oh, but it's locked in there. I'm going to get it in 20 years from now. How does that sound? Is it your money or is it Fidelity's asset? Fidelity makes the money off of it, and one day you're going to ask Fidelity for some money back. But that's the way that people think. Hey, it's my money, it's my account. I could log in and I could see what's going on, but people aren't taking their money out. Unless there's an emergency situation, and it depends on the situation if you're going to be able to get your money out of your retirement accounts. Sometimes you just get taxed, no big deal. Other retirement accounts, they're locked in. You can't touch it. And then a lot of people defer them from 65 till 71 in certain cases, depending on where you live, of course. This is not an investment. You have to keep money into something, never see the returns until 20, 30, 40 years later. What kind of investment is that? This is for people who simply aren't aware of what to do with their money. And it's difficult. It's difficult for me to come out here and say this type of thing because I know that a lot of people do. This is what they're doing with their money. A lot of people, as I'll talk to you in a moment about, their employers are contributing with them and they think it's free money, as they say, because they allow them to contribute a certain amount and they match that amount, but you don't get that your money is going into a pile in which you won't touch for 20, 30, 40 years. That's not an investment. An investment is something that pays you money every single month. If it's not paying you every single month, it's not an investment. Now, you may decide to hold your money in something like land, in something like precious metals. That's not going to pay you every month, but I can still consider it to be an investment in a different way because it's preserving wealth. I can give that to the future generations, and that would be able to be passed on. But there aren't many stocks today that you could say, I'm going to pass this on to future generations because things are changing all the time. Is that the best stock to own today? I don't really know. And of course, land, I could build on it. I can farm the land. I can have, livestock on the land. I mean, there's things you can do with it. With a stock, you're once again helpless to the people managing it. So it takes the power out of your hands and puts it into a company or a manager of a finance manager, whatever. That's not really sound as far as I'm concerned. And look at what's happened over the years. I mean, we've seen pensions that have been decimated in the amount that they're really operating at. I mean, they're all underfunded. But in general, companies are going away from pensions. We see that. As a result, 401ks have been getting all the money. And they're happy about this. Companies like Fidelity and others, they're taking all that money in. People are just putting their money in, hoping that one day when they're 65 or what have you, they're going to retire, they're going to start pulling that money out. That money is not going to be worth much, I'm telling you right now. Okay? Retirement savers lost $2 trillion in the stock market. This is from 2008. So it wasn't even the bottom of the market at this point by the time this was written. People tend to forget. Then we take a look at this article. Although the average retirement account balance increased by about 7%, about 45% of the workers we studied saw their balances decrease by thousands of dollars between the spring of 2009 and the fall of 2011. These losses can be even more troublesome than they initially seem. If someone had $10,000 in 2008 and lost 25% of it, they'd need a gain of 33% just to stay even. That's what people don't understand, how it works. When you see these drops that occur, you have to then gain so much more in order to get back to that point you were at before. In fact, we found that the average gain was far smaller than what would have been needed to recover from the steep losses in 2008. And then it's going to go on and talk about some more of those details if you're interested in reading it. But I just want to give people this thought that in the event that their portfolio, their 401k, their RRSP and supers, they decrease by even 50%, which historically during any sort of crisis isn't that significant. Okay, so we have a 50% drop. The chances of them getting back to it in a number of years is not likely. It takes many, many years for the stock market to go back to where it was. And in that time, do you want to be pulling out that money? Or do you think to yourself, well, I lost so much money. I need to wait for it to reaccumulate. I can cut back here and there. It's not a good investment. It really isn't. In the most specific way that I'm talking about here, that you have no power. That's so important. And then we have this. More employers are choosing to automatically enroll employees in 401k plans and institute automatic employee contribution increases annually. And that's what a lot of people have done. They've given them the incentive. Say, look, we're going to match it. We're going to help you out. We're going to put some money in. Let's just get this going. And I could see it's tempting. I've been told myself, it's free money. In the past, I've been told, why aren't you contributing? It's free money. I don't want to impose knowing that that person is doing that. I'm not going to obviously say what I would say to you as a subscriber. But quite frankly, I have to tell it like it is. I don't think it has any value. If somebody can easily, with a flip of the switch, lock me out of it, then I've got something to worry about. It's not an investment. It's something that you want to speculate on. That's totally fine if you want to do that. But it's speculation. You put your money in, you're going to pick it up in 20, 30, 40 years, hoping that it is at least keeping up with inflation. That's pretty much what everybody's doing. I don't know where to put my money, but financial advisor told me, put it in the 401k, pick it up at a later date, bring you some money. You're going to get taxed on the way out. You have much more incentive to invest in something that will actually, the total amount of taxes you pay are lower. You want to be able to do things smarter, but that takes a lot of effort. But look, if you're on this channel, if you're at least this far into the video, I know that you have that desire, that you're willing to learn. So I think that there's a lot of things that people could be doing, but they're simply not. Now, there are places and times and different investments for all types of people. But ultimately, the very simple guide is that we need something real. We need to be able to touch it. You need to be able to hold it. And that's just the difference here. A lot of people are just getting into these type of 401ks because they don't want to get their hands dirty, but you have to. You really do. There's really no way around it. So, more specifics, I get into them in my books, but essentially something real there's a time and place for every type of asset, that's for sure. When you see that the prices have come down, that might be a good opportunity. But in the case of real estate, there are still places within the United States and probably many other places around the world where a property may cash flow. If you can get cash flow from the property, it might be reasonable. Now you look at the major cities, like the top 20 cities, probably not going to get many opportunities there. But they're still around where you can find cash flow type properties. That's the whole point. You want to get paid today. Real estate is really overvalued. You know that. I've done so many videos about it. But what I'm just saying in general, like I'm just telling you the general investment strategy is not about appreciation. It's about cash flow. That means I want to get paid today. If I had that $1 million in a 401k, I'd rather trade that any day for real estate, and I'll get paid today. And then after I'm gone, I could pass it down. To me, that sounds much, much better. Okay, that's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps support the channel. I do appreciate that. And if you want the financial education you were not taught in schools, if you want to know about real estate, these 2 books have it. These mostly in the first book, The Money GPS, I talk about real estate specifically, the asset class, all the things to look at. I do also touch on it in Global Economic Collapse as well, in a sort of a different light. I cover some of the ratios that you need to look at in the Money GPS as well. Very important stuff. If you want to flip through them, there's a link in the description below. And if you're more interested in the audiobook version of Global Economic Collapse, you can get that at themoneygps.com.